I found this list on IMDb, and it was like movies from 1936, and the list was freaking amazing. I'm like, I guess it was a big year for movies because I was looking at there was a lot of movies that looked interesting to me that I've never heard of, like Dracula's Daughter, Phantom Ship, all this other
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And I was like, I've never seen any of those, but
So you know what classically what the best year is, right? The peak of all movie years. You know which year it is, right? It's
well,
1939.
I was gonna say it's not 2024 for sure. 1939. Okay, that makes sense because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when sound started really coming in
yeah,
clearly. Yeah, people
yeah.
started acting more normal, more natural acting rather than theatrical performances.
Personally like 2019 out of the recent years.
Well,
2019 is pretty good.
you worked on film back in the 1900s, so you would you would know that.
Wow.
I think
Good
it depends
stuff.
on what kind of film you're making. Like if you're making horror movies, there's obviously different peaks and valleys with horror.
Well, yeah. I mean,
We're
well,
in a peak right now. I think we're coming. A lot of horror is happening
I
right
mean,
now.
somebody asked me on a podcast not long ago, was saying, "Well, what was it like knowing that you guys were doing the second new age of horror films back in the '80s?" I go, I have no idea.
You should
Wait,
start your when you're talking to groups of people. You should start off with back in the 1900s when we were using film cameras.
using film cameras, and cameras were really freaking heavy.
You had to wait for the film to be developed. Oh, speaking of that, we should talk about the next one. Are you ready to talk about the next one?
I am so ready.
Yeah, last week we talked about Charlie Chan, and this week we were talking about video and how it looks great on YouTube. Well, I was thinking about the 1970s because it relates to Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil. You know, I I'm not kidding. I just watched I just watched that too.
Well, that's good. Let's talk about it.
Let's
So
talk about it.
it's about a
Yeah.
late night TV show. It's a guy that's supposed to be competing against Johnny Carson. It's an interesting concept. It's about a live TV broadcast in 1977 that goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into nations' living rooms. And it's basically it's kind of a found footage movie, but it's also a possession movie like The Exorcist. That's how I would describe it. But did you feel like there was this point where this kind of went off the rails? Because I felt like it was going beautifully, and then all of a sudden the second half, it's a different movie.
There are a couple it almost seems like there are two pieces to this. The
Yes.
first piece is the show itself, which I thought was better. And I was going to say that the whole film to me was just amazing. I mean, the timing, the build of suspense, the way that they handled it. I kind of thought that it had a couple of false endings that probably they could have eliminated. They could have gotten out of it at the last, and they wouldn't have needed the crap at the end. A little bird told me that you don't like that you didn't really like the lead.
I didn't like anything about the guy. No, I felt like I couldn't connect with him. I didn't
You
like him at
couldn't.
the beginning. Like he should have been really likable at the beginning, and then kind of like all of a sudden he's like kind of swarmy and evil, and that's kind of
Well,
what he turned into. But I didn't really
yeah,
connect with him, and I think
but
I would have liked him more as a
did he
character.
really? He sort of seemed. What do I want to say? He seemed in a certain respect to be everybody's pawn.
No, well, I guess that's what role he was playing in the end,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. No, you know who to me was the perfect role in there was the stage manager
Yes, yeah,
because
kept it together.
he was so and you know he had that first AD uh thing that just this is going to happen here and we are going to start filming now and there is no bullcrap or any ancillary, drama.
Yep.
And it's funny because he embodies that you in order to do that kind of role and keep that kind of keep a show going, you have to divorce yourself from all the drama. And I thought that that was very much what he was doing, and he would just drive right through it, right?
Just keep the show going no matter
That,
what.
he
Yep.
he was the one that most reminded me of somebody that worked on a show like that.
Well, it's like the stage manager in Charlie Chan at the Opera.
Yeah,
He was
right.
like, "We're gonna. This show's gonna go on even if Frankenstein comes
That's
in."
right. Even if Frank, that's funny. There's that it's kind of symbiotic, kind of cloning each other, that kind of feeling.
What'd you think about the overall look? I liked how pretty it was and how well edited it was.
Oh, the overall look was excellent. And it did have a very 70s feel to it. Had a lot of 70s period mustaches.
Yeah, actually everything looked great. I thought it was beautiful. Actually, the atmosphere that they created was great. The tone was perfect.
It was beautiful. It was a very convincing TV show.
Although I question it. How many? Okay, back in the 70s, because I was looking at this a while back. Like even in the 80s, when you're watching an hour-long show, there was only like 10 minutes of commercials. Nowadays, it's like 20 minutes of commercials.
An hour-long show is 45 minutes.
Actually, no, it was longer. I looked it up. It was like
how
the
long
average
was-
show was like 55 or 52 minutes for an hour long.
Oh
and
yeah,
then
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
nowadays, it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, nowadays it's 45, and it was 52. It was closer to 55.
But I was like, how many commercial breaks are they taking? I was doing the math in my head because I used to work in TV. And I was like, well, there's no way they'd fit all those commercials. Anyway, so I was obsessed over that. And then I didn't like the main character. I wasn't rooting for him at all. And I think if I would have connected with him better, I would have liked him more and I would have liked the movie overall more. Although I agree with you, I liked how pretty this was. I like how it flowed. I like the tone. I like the atmosphere. I didn't like how halfway through it just kind of all of a sudden the story didn't make any sense, like at the end. I was like,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is the end.
it was a different movie.
It should have gone to it should have, it went off into this trippy kind of like otherworld and things like that.
Which is 1970s style. I think they were going for that.
I didn't get any of that stuff.
They were going for a Rosemary's Baby kind of thing. Like a,
Yeah, as long as we were just on the run of the show, right?
Yeah.
As long as we were in the run of the show, I thought it was perfect. You know what I didn't get is that there was an element that had like a secret society in it that absolutely went nowhere. It kind of just dropped off it kind of dropped off along the way and never came back, right?
yeah, they mentioned it. Well, another thing was they also mentioned this show they said it was never aired at one point. And then they said this is what the
It was
audience
live.
saw.
And then they said it was live.
Yeah, and I was like, they saw this live back on that night, and I was like, well, if it wasn't aired, how did people see it at home? What? And then I was like, how did they the technology wise, I don't think they would have been able to just, hey, let's re-rack the footage and play it back on the air right now. I don't think in the 70s that would have worked.
That to me that was a little fudging of a more modern time.
Yes, well, like nowadays, absolutely, you could do that nowadays. Like you're in a newsroom, oh, back that footage up.
No problem. The thing is there's that dichotomy there, that razor's edge that you're trying to that every show has tried to create since the dawn of time, is trying to be as edgy and interesting as possible without killing a lot of the people involved. And
Right.
and I don't mean not everybody. I mean, there are certain people that can go, but generally you want to try and keep at least 95%, 92% of the people should be alive by the end of the film.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. You have to have the final girl,
I'm saying.
at
Yes.
least. Did you like the fact that they chose to do some good practical effects that were probably what they would have done in the 70s to make those effects?
Yeah, no, there were.
I
It
was
was
thinking of the eyeball that reminded
that
me of
eyeball.
a Mick Strawn effect, kind of like, or
It
one of.
was. There were a lot of like just interesting little effects as it was going along. It was very interesting. All the kills in it and the way things were done uh,
Well, it's funny you say that
looked pretty good.
because there was that one
Well,
of the guy that was kind of far off, and it took me totally out of the movie. And all of a sudden, he did this. It was digitally enhanced. I don't know why they did that. But the digital enhancement.
why they had to make it look like he tripped or he got pushed down as well as his head spun all the way
I
around.
think you were going to mention something about a dummy, probably.
Yes, yes. It was almost like they used basically what you want to do is you want to like look at all the different techniques that you have and you want to use them so that they look the best. You don't want to use them in such a manner that it looks like CGI accidentally threw or AI. It kind of looks like AI just threw the character across and then he became a dummy as they were spinning his head down below. And you go, huh, well,
Well,
that's one
shortly
of
before
those.
that, they had done some practical effects that looked amazing, and it is true to the 1970s. And I'm like, I think that's what they tried to do with those effects in earlier on. I don't know why they didn't do that with these effects.
Yeah,
Like,
it's but you know what? Here's the thing. I'll tell you, the weird thing about effects is that you when you're on the set, the difference between like being a production designer and an effects designer is that the production designer basically his stuff always works. I mean, it might not look quite right, but his they're in a set, right?
yeah,
Special effects, at least 20% of the special effects that you do on the set just don't work. And you wind up trying to do them later if they're practical, right? And the thing is so you can never, nowadays, if they miss it practically on the set, then they're going to replace it with an optical. They're not going to waste the time to do that again and again and again to get it right.
that makes
So,
sense.
that's one thing I've definitely noticed is that way you kind of because the CGI is sort of the makeup machine, you know. It goes through and goes back. Well, it makes all your kisses red.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. I didn't think
Yeah,
about it that way.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, well,
I wasn't thinking about the act of actually shooting it. I was just like,
it,
the decision of doing it that way. That's what I was thinking about.
and the thing is I'm sure that was very expensive to do, and that an awful lot of it they wanted to maintain that the realism of I see. I think that an awful lot of it sort of like from commercial break to commercial break in the action realm were probably filmed continuously
Yeah.
until it got too weird, But all to me because I didn't have the problem that you have with the main character. He just seemed a little bit weak.
I guess you're right. He
But
was kind of the pawn. Yeah.
he was kind of the pawn between the producer and the time and the battle between Carson and the devil coming onto the show and him not understanding that the devil was the devil, or any of the rest of that. But at the same time,
But the only
there was
person I
a
liked was the psychologist, really.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, there was as soon as the show ended in the bloodbath that it did, then that should have been it. I mean, they could have literally just put
This
up
was an hour
the
and a half. They could have made
yeah
it an hour.
they could have just gone to a test pattern.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't like
all
how
they
it
had
just
to do.
it took a
They,
turn and then it's like suddenly it's like you're Rosemary's Baby and you're like, well, wait a minute, I was just watching a different movie.
yeah,
What was?
I still don't know. I still am not 100% sure what the last 10 minutes of
It's like
that.
I fell asleep. I was watching Exorcist. I fell asleep. My brother came in, changed it to Rosemary's Baby, and I was like, wait, what happened?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh.
I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I really liked how it was. I thought it was gonna be a terrible movie, actually, honestly. When I realized what it was about, I'm like, they brought that girl out. I'm like, they're going to do an Exorcist. They're going to try to do an Exorcist, and it's going to be horrible.
I liked it so much. I thought that, to me, it was the perfect Halloween movie, right?
Yeah. What'd you think of the girl that played the possessed?
The Possessed, excellent. I mean, the thing is she's a girl that looks creepy by herself. I mean, she looks creepy when she smiles. It looks creepy, right?
I can relate to that.
And stop it. She looks creepy, but then making herself look creepy, and the excellent job that the sound guys did with her voice.
Yes. Well, I liked how they did that with The Exorcist, but this was actually done better, I think, because they brought in like
really was.
The voice with her voice. I don't know. I think they were actually trying to channel The Exorcist, like the show, the movie. They're trying to kind of reenact some of those scenes that we saw, but they did it with a twist, I guess is a better way to put it. Like on a live TV show.
Hey, you want me to tell you the difference? Here's the difference. The difference was that every voice that you heard was hers. Even if she was tracking over.
Yeah, they changed the pitch and they
changed the pitch. But that's not how they did The Exorcist. Because that was somebody else doing that voice.
Yeah, they overdubbed it, right?
They overdubbed it. They overdubbed it. And I've never really thought that that technique ever works. This did.
I think it did.
Also.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm so scared.
But yeah.
So I really like this one. I'm going to probably get up there with a 3.5. I thought it was a Halloween winner for sure.
No, I agree. It's a perfect movie for a Halloween night with the lights off.
Oh,
but I still wonder, it takes a turn a little bit more than halfway through, and I was confused by the ending. That's all. It was just.
Wait, you know what though?
I'm not sure it was the right ending.
Like I say, just turn it off at the end of the show, right? Just turn it off, and you'll be fine.
Because the best part was where he woke up, and I'm not going to say what happened, but he woke up and he. I don't know how to put it without saying it, but that's where it should stop.
I didn't even understand it.
That should have stopped right there.
I didn't. When it went off the tracks, I didn't even know what was going on. I thought, to me, it just ended at the show ending, and that was
there was a shot where he was like, bird's eye shot of him like realizing, and then they should have gone to cut to somebody's living room and have somebody like with a can through their head
reacting to it. Well, yeah,
or banging themselves on the head with something, like meatloaf. I don't know.
Yeah, that happens more recently though.
Well, that happens to me when I watch any movies, any stuff about politics right now.
Have you had enough texts and emails?
Well, I think Kamala's a little obsessed with me because she texts me like 8 times a day.
just because 8 out of 10 texts that you get are her.
I told my wife, I said, this lady keeps texting me,
right.
asking me for money, telling me how awesome I am, and then she gets her husband to text me sometimes. That's even creepier.
I will not be blackmailed.